run it. Hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North Talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Ay, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North Talk. Let's go. Ay, AFC North Talk.
All right. Hello. Welcome into the latest edition of AFC North Talk. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm Jarrett. That's Ace. TBD if Q will be here. I think he will be. I think we've come to the conclusion that he's still doing Q and Colby. And if that's the case, then we'll see Q in a minute. Sonny is still away. So yeah, we're just running this as a duo. Ace, it's good to see you. Merry Christmas. What's the I don't know if your kids watch this, but like what's the big thing that you got your kids this year?
He's in the room right now, so I cannot pull that as it stands right now. So yeah, definitely got something nice for him though.
Good. My girlfriend just texted me. Our like a community thing does like giveaways at like the community center or whatever. You like buy tickets and it goes to like helping out the community and whatnot. They do a giveaway and we do like the Nintendo Switch one all the time. And she just informed me that we did indeed not win the Nintendo Switch. So that you hate to see it.
Switch 1 or Switch 2?
The new ones, the Switch 2.
Nice.
Rex Fortune, by the way, in the comments informed us there is no Q and Culp today, so we'll see. We'll see, guys. It's Christmas, and people are busy, so yeah. We'll see where the evening takes us. But at the bare minimum, you've got the two of us to recap everything that went down in the division this past weekend. We could start with Pittsburgh because I think that was the most like insane ending that we had, and. In terms of results, I was pretty surprised. I picked the Lions to win. I picked the Lions to win and cover. I think they were 6.5-point favorites. I thought that this would be a game that, with their backs against the wall at home, no TJ Watt, no Nick Herbig. It didn't look like a great matchup for Pittsburgh, but man, credit to Mike Tomlin. These past 3 weeks, their game plans for Baltimore, for Miami, and for Detroit have been next to flawless, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. So, if I'm going to be vocal about when things go bad, I got to be vocal when they go right. And he's done a really good job over these last 3 weeks, making sure that they are prepared to the fullest extent. Fun stat for you. Aaron Rodgers had 7 more rushing yards than Jahmyr Gibbs in this game.
Wow.
Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 carries, 2 yards. Aaron Rodgers, 2 carries, 9 yards. Mm-hmm. So that tells you just how good the Steelers' run defense was. Detroit only had 15 yards on the ground. The Steelers had 230. They had 481 yards of offense, by far the most that they had this season. In terms of just dominance on offense, they did whatever they wanted. Arthur Smith caught a great game, and the emergence of Kenneth Gainwell has been really cool to see. He makes a diving catch on the last play of the first half. He isn't touched down. The wherewithal to know, hey, I wasn't touched. Let me get in the end zone. Kudos to him for that, but also good on the referees for not blowing it dead and letting him do that, and then going back to be able to review it and see that he wasn't touched. And that was kind of kicked off just like a whirlwind of what was to happen in the second half. Both teams kind of went back and forth in the fourth quarter. And then it came down to the final drive where Detroit gets into the red zone after a missed field goal, and they kind of shoot themselves in the foot a lot. There was an OPI on Isaac Tisla that negated an Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown. And then immediately after that, there's a false start on the Lions center. And then OPI on Amon-Ra St. Brown on the last play of the game where he catches it. He fumbles. Jared Goff takes it into the end zone. They take about an hour and a half to deliberate what happened. It was crazy. But the Steelers get the win 29-24. They are now 9-6. And the magic number is now 1 for them. If they win, they're in. And if Baltimore loses to Green Bay on Saturday, they are in. We'll obviously talk about the Ravens game here in a minute. But I was pleasantly surprised by how well the Steelers played. Aaron Rodgers has been just an absolute like Steve Nash level point guard over these last 3 games where, yeah, he's, obviously 42. And we've touched on this, a bunch of times this season. It's not peak Aaron Rodgers, but like some of that does peek through at some points in the game, just how he sees opposing defenses, inside the NFL. Like he was mic'd up for this game. And like on the play that he throws it to Kenneth Gainwell, they get to the line of scrimmage and immediately he's like, hey, go all the way out and run a go. He sees it immediately, gets it to him, and that won the game basically. So just incredibly impressed with how the offense looks, incredibly impressed with the defense. Again, 15 rushing yards allowed to Jahmyr Gibbs, who you can make the argument is the best running back in football right now. David Montgomery, they held him in check. And doing it without Watt, without Herbig, can't say enough about this unit and what they did. So I was incredibly pleased, and I was very surprised. What were your thoughts on everything?
Yeah, this is one that I just felt like the Steelers were going to win. Like going into this one, the vibes just felt right. Aaron Rodgers is familiar with the Detroit Lions. I know that this is a little bit of a different iteration than the last time when he played them. But in my opinion, I think that this is the Aaron Rodgers that we've been seeing lately. Like he's cut on a switch. And I don't know if he's done this like on purpose, like trying to preserve himself since he's at the age of 40, trying to do his thing. But Rodgers was masterful again in this game. You talk about Kenneth Gainwell, what an emergence from him. 5 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Plus, I believe like 50 or something like rush yards as well. Yeah. Like, man, this dude has definitely emerged.
Didn't even talk about Jaylen Warren, who went 14 carries, 143 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had maybe the best game of his career. Just really good from, in a game that featured Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. The best tandem of backs was in Pittsburgh, which was, again, a very nice surprise.
Yes, pleasant surprise to that one. And then you had Adam Thielen, starting to step into that wide receiver 2 role. So this Steelers offense is getting going. And I just had a feeling it was just like the vibes of this, like the Detroit Lions, I don't know, there's some frauds this year. I'm just going to be honest. Like a lot of people had them as, playoff favorites in the NFC. They haven't lived up to it. They may not make the playoffs now. We talked about that on the preview show. Like their percentage chances go way down.
I think it sits at like
Pittsburgh.
15% right now.
15%. Yeah, it's 15%. So from that standpoint, Pittsburgh went out and took care of business. This is Tomlin, riding the ship, getting ready to do what they needed to do. And obviously we'll talk about the Ravens game later, but this is one that I just felt like Pittsburgh was going to come in and win, and they were able to do that. They did get lucky there at the end, but the way that they were playing through this last stretch of 3 games, they just looked like far and beyond the best team in the AFC North. That's not saying much because the AFC North isn't good, but this is a playoffs now where you still have to consider the Steelers. Like if this were a playoffs where Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and these guys were in it, and Josh Allen, then I'm like, man, I don't know about Pittsburgh's chances. But right now, it's just Josh Allen and some guys in there right now, right? You got Drake May, but Drake May isn't established as a playoff caliber quarterback yet. So it's wide open for the Steelers to be able to sneak into the playoffs and do some things. Whereas I thought like their ceiling was, hey, get to the wild card, possibly lose wild card first round. Now the way that these playoffs are shaping out, you're talking about Jacksonville, you're talking about the Broncos. Like these are games that if they get in, well, they are going to get in my opinion, but I don't think that they'll have that hard of a time unless they get a draw of a team like Buffalo. Like I think in any other game other than Buffalo, I feel like Pittsburgh at this point with them playing the way that they're playing, Aaron Rodgers doing what he can do as a vet, they're a legitimate threat right now to at least make a run in the playoffs. And I know people are going to say, like, what are you talking about? You're a Bengals fan. Just as a football analyst, this team has caught fire at the right time, which is December. And when teams start making these runs at this point, like they carry that over into the playoffs and they're able to run the ball. Now we'll have to definitely talk about the DK thing, but he'll be back by playoff time, right? So as it stands right now, everything went good for them outside of the DK situation. But I still think that this wasn't a game where DK was a huge factor in it. This team is figuring out other ways to be able to go to other players and still be able to generate some offense out there. Darnell Washington, I know he's only had 3 receptions for 36 yards, but he's starting to step up in that role as that weird tight end where they use him in the heavy packages, but he's also – a threat as well. You also still have Freiermuth. So they're finding ways to be able to generate offense from guys that aren't really likely people that we expected it from, like a Kenneth Gainwell, who's turned back the dial to his Philadelphia Eagles days to become a really good weapon for the Steelers. So I thought it was a great win for the Steelers. And obviously we know how the Ravens game played out. So to me, I said it last week. I was just like, it just feels like the Steelers are destined to win this division. And I think that they took a big step doing that with that win over the Lions.
Yeah. I guess we could touch on the DK thing real quick. I think a 2-game suspension is absurd. Should not have been that much. I think he'll win an appeal and get it reduced to 1.
Right.
I thought a hefty fine would have been suffice. I think that this is a little bit of an overreaction. I'm not defending what he did. Like, you can't put your hands on a fan. Absolutely can't do it. And like I said, he should have been fined heavily. If they wouldn't have fined him a game check or whatever, do that. I think a suspension is a little bit much.
And there's something here where if it's upheld, it like gets rid of some kind of guaranteed. It voids a bunch of guaranteed money.
It's a bunch of guaranteed money that gets voided. So it was it's costly. And a lot of people.
It's costly for him. I think for the Steelers, you're probably like, oh, we get DK at a discount. Playing devil's advocate as a person, like thinking of it from a team perspective. So, because obviously DK, he doesn't deserve to lose all of that money from that situation. But if the Steelers are able to void some guarantees from that and still be able to have him on the books and be able to, that's going to be crazy.
Why, if you're DK, why are you signing that contract? By the way, like that feels
it's
like
the Shamar Stewart thing. Everybody,
I was gonna say, it feels like a slimy deal.
Everybody tried to say the Bengals were the only one that came out with that language in contracts, and that was not true at all. Like Saquon Barkley signed the same thing in Philadelphia, as we're seeing right now. DK signed the same thing in Seattle, so that wasn't a new contract thing, and unfortunately, they're in this weird spot where that's a possibility. Now, the question I have for you is, if it's only a 1-game suspension, does it still void those guarantees, or is it a situation where it has to be 2?
I'm not gonna act like I'm 100% sure, but I want to say the language was if he misses like any amount of games due to that type of behavior.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So I could be wrong on that. I'll have to double check, but it's slimy language that I don't like in terms of what was put in that contract. And I think it's weird to put that in there in general. If it's going to void some money, whatever, you understand that. Like if a player takes himself off the field because of idiotic behavior, that's one thing. And he misses X amount of games, but for $40 million in guaranteed to potentially be voided out of this, it feels very slimy. So like I said, I think that it should have just been a hefty fine and we move on from this. This fan, like, he was caught on video saying, oh yeah, that's what we wanted. Like, all right, dude, you're a capital L loser if you're just going out of your way to try to piss off players. And again, I'm not condoning DK, like allowing it to get to him that much where he goes over to the fan and grabs him. Like, you can't do that and he should be punished for it. But to me, a 2-game suspension isn't a punishment that fits the crime.
Lamar Jackson was not. I think I saw your
bro. That's what I'm saying.
Jackson was not suspended at all for pushing.
And it's somewhat apples to oranges because the fan kind of reached out to him first, but he shoved a guy. He like made more contact forcibly than DK did. He didn't get shit. So I think that there is a little bit of inconsistency with it, and I didn't think that it would result in a suspension. I thought it would be a big fine and whatever. We can all move on. But yeah, this feels a bit much. In terms of the Steelers playoffs and whatnot, and like who they could end up playing. If I had to pick, I'm with you. Anybody but Buffalo, because I think Buffalo comes in and it's going to be a similar result to what it was the first time around, where it's the Bills don't have the most talented team overall, but they have Josh Allen and they have James Cook, and so far that's been enough. And it was certainly enough the first time around. If they were to play a Denver, I think that they can beat Denver. If they were to play the Chargers, like, I love Justin Herbert, I think that they could beat the Chargers at home in a cold weather game. If they play Jacksonville, I'm a big Jaguars guy and I believe in Trevor Lawrence, but I think that they could beat Jacksonville. Like, so it just depends on how the AFC South goes. It looks like Jacksonville's going to win that division though. So it's more likely they play Houston if they're playing anybody in that division. Even so, like, the defense is damn good, but like offensively, it's CJ Stroud, Nico Collins that are the only 2 things you got to really worry about. And I think that they can beat Houston. So the only team that I would really hope they avoid is Buffalo in the wild card round. I think that they can beat anybody else. But if they play the Bills, I just don't think that that's going to end well. Todd Haley and I talked about that. Oh, that's a fun little announcement for Believe in Steelers. Yeah, Todd Haley's my new like full-time co-host, everybody. So if you want more Steelers content, go and listen to me and Todd Haley on Believe in Steelers. We talked about a lot of this in the Steelers Lions recap. But yeah, I think that if I had to pick in order of the teams that I would prefer to play, I think Denver's 1, the Chargers are 2, Houston, New England, Buffalo. I don't think I'm missing anybody there in terms of like the potential teams.
But it's a good year for the Steelers. Like, this is a wide open AFC. Like, I know you also like Josh Allen.
Sure.
If Josh Allen loses in this playoff like race without Joe Burrow, without Pat Mahomes, without Lamar Jackson, what are the talks about in terms of Josh Allen?
It's now or never, man. And look, there's not going to be another situation where you're not going to have to face Lamar, Mahomes, or Joe Burrow. And we can talk about all the other stuff surrounding Buffalo. You know, the defense hasn't been great, especially the run defense. The receivers aren't all that good. But look, man, if you can't go and beat Bo Nix, like there's going to be a conversation had, and some of them are going to be fair. Now, look, if he goes out and it's 45-42, they score on every possession and the Bills just can't get a stop, then yeah, like that's one thing. But, you know, you got to be able to beat teams that don't have quarterbacks that are as good as you. I understand that Denver's defense is pretty good, but we've seen teams, I mean, Jacksonville just put 34 on them. You should be able to take care of business there, and their defense slowed them down. So going into this postseason, man, like there's just not a whole lot of room for excuses, and it feels like it's now or never. Because if you're not going to,
honestly, the more that I think about it, Aaron Rodgers would be the person with the most like playoff history.
Oh, for sure,
experience versus anyone else. Like, I don't know if I'm betting against Aaron Rodgers.
It would be him. It would be Rodgers and Josh Allen, because Justin Herbert has never won a playoff game. Trevor Lawrence has one playoff win, but that came back in 2021. Drake May never played in a playoff game. Bo Nix has only played in one playoff game and he lost. CJ Stroud's got a couple playoff wins to his name. So he'd be another guy that's in there. But yeah, it's very much feels like it's now or never for Buffalo. But we'll see. The Steelers have if they can avoid Buffalo, I think that they can win whoever is the 5 seed or beat whoever the 5 seed is and go from there. We can go over to Baltimore and New England now, because that another classic. Hey, they're up by 10 plus in the fourth quarter. It's like the LeBron meme was like, oh, okay. Yeah, whatever. The Patriots didn't give a fuck. Drake May went out. First career 300-yard game for Drake May, by the way, which is pretty insane to think about it. But he played phenomenal. Something about watching Drake May, man. Like, I'm a Josh Allen fan. He's my favorite player. Drake May is probably my second favorite player in the NFL right now to watch. Just watching him throw the ball is very fun. The touchdown pass to Kyle Williams, out of this world. He had a few throws in this game that were just stupid. There was a 4th down pass to Stephon Diggs. He's coming on like a little intermediate crosser, and he fits it in over, I think it was Marlon Humphrey who dove at it. There's just things that he's capable of doing in terms of throws and fitting it into windows. He's awesome. But yeah, the Ravens were winning 24-13. Derrick Henry ran the ball in with just over 12 minutes left in the game, and then he didn't touch the ball the rest of the game. So that tells you where the Ravens are at this point. Now at 7-8, if they lose, they're out. If Pittsburgh wins another game, they're out. Serious questions about John Harbaugh. But also I'm seeing like serious questions about Lamar in terms of his future there, because he doesn't have any more guaranteed money left on his deal. They got to rework that this offseason, or he's owed like $75 million against the cap or something absurd. So that an extension would make sense, but I saw Dan Graziano pose like, hey, if they want to rebuild and start over, they've had Lamar for a long time and they haven't had any success there. If they trade him for a king's ransom and they have a new head coach, I mean, that's a pretty good way to start a rebuild, getting a bunch of draft capital for Lamar and starting anew if that's what they want to do. I think ultimately he stays there, but I don't think it's 100% guarantee. But Baltimore, 7-8, another blown fourth quarter lead that should have been a win. I understand that Lamar went down with the back injury, but when you're up by 11 in the final quarter of the game, you think that you can hold on to that lead. But they didn't. And that's kind of been the story of them for 5 years now. Their 12th blown lead in the fourth quarter, where they led by at least 7 since 2021. That's an NFL record. So that's the story of the Rams right now, man. And that's basically been what their season has been like.
Yeah, like when I came into this game, I just couldn't understand how the Ravens were favored in this game. I mean, we're talking about a good Patriots team that's been doing well. We're talking about a very mid Ravens team, like has been struggling to score. Lamar Jackson was hobbled coming into this one, ends up exiting the game early in the second quarter in this one. But they still, like you said, had control of this game. Huntley comes in. But it's just not enough. Like the Derrick Henry fumble, that seems like things that have happened this season, very similar to other games that they've had. Right when they look like they're going to really close the team out, they leave the door open. In the fourth quarter, you allowed, 15 points in this one. Only scored 7. Only scored 7 in the third quarter. So they allowed them to creep back into the game, and I just felt like at a certain point that Drake May and this team was going to be able to get back into this game. And I knew that Baltimore would have issues stopping them. Stephon Diggs turned the clock back to the Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs, and went crazy in this one. Like every time they needed a big play was Stephon Diggs on that crosser across the middle or making some play that he just went out of his mind on to make the play. And they just didn't look like at all throughout the night that they were scared from the Ravens. Certain teams usually play the Ravens and they get punched in the mouth and it's physical and teams don't know how to respond. Not the Patriots in this one. The Patriots came roaring back and it seemed like even however many linemen they lost that night, it just didn't matter. They were able to keep answering the Ravens and coming back. And they even lost Trevion Henderson in this one. And I thought he was going to be in for a big game. Yeah. They were able to bounce back with Ramondre Stevenson, his 8 carries for 51 yards and a touchdown. They threw some blitzes at Lamar while he was in. Like they just looked like a team destined to really take out another AFC potential opponent in the Ravens. And this is just what the Ravens are. I just don't think that they're really a good team this season. They've been holding on. I thought that Huntley saved their season, like right before Lamar came back with that unexpected
win against the Bears.
They had. Yeah, like I didn't expect them to win that, and he saved their season then, and they're asking them to do that in this situation, and I just felt like the Patriots smelled the blood in the water. There's blood in the water. They were taking full advantage of it, and they decided to close the Ravens out, and I think that they sent them to Cancun. I think that this is the end of the Baltimore Ravens as we know it. I think that this season is over. Now you got Lamar with the back day-to-day kind of thing. Like you said, it's going to be interesting, like either I think it's Harbaugh, but there's no way that Harbaugh and Lamar survive this offseason. I think it's going to be Harbaugh. That's the guy that goes out here. We'll see what they do with Lamar Jackson. That is an interesting point because if they do bring in a new coach, they're going to have to see what that guy can do from that standpoint. But I think that they do have to figure out where the future is in Baltimore and what they do going forward because they don't look like a team that, even if they made the playoffs, would be doing anything. And I think that opportunity is slim right now. I don't like them to beat the Steelers, don't like them to beat the Packers. So we'll see what happens with their season, but I think they're cooked, bro. I think they're done.
Yeah, especially if Lamar doesn't play on Saturday. And even if he does, man, like we saw what he looked like pre-back injury. And it wasn't great since he's come back. Like it felt like he's been playing at half speed. He's been like 65-70% of what he usually is, and that just hasn't been enough. So there are a lot of teams that would call the Ravens and say, hey, we'll give you a pair of first-round picks as like the base layer for this deal, some more draft picks, spread across the next 3 years, maybe a player or two. I think it'd be similar to like what the Russell Wilson deal was with Denver.
Right.
I think that, and if you're Baltimore, I mean, you got to at least entertain those calls to see what you can get and see if it's worth doing. It doesn't mean that you are completely punting on keeping Lamar because, again, I still think that he stays in Baltimore.
I think he stays there too.
But I don't think it's 100% guarantee. And in terms of like what Harbaugh does and where he goes, I don't know. Does he just like hang it up and call it a career if he gets fired, or do you think he goes somewhere else? I mean, he's quietly like 64, 65. Like he might just go.
He's either going to do the TV thing. He's either going to be hired immediately to his brother's staff, or he's going to get
Oh, that's
hired by
something I didn't think of. Yeah.
hired by someone in the NFL. I think it's going to be one of those three. I mean, there might be a team desperate enough. You look at somebody like not the Baltimore Ravens. This is funny, but the Cleveland Browns, right?
Wouldn't
And
that be
do they
hilarious?
consider bringing in a guy like Harbaugh, Ohio guy? Do they think about it? I mean, he's obviously got a decorated history there. He obviously knows the Ravens in and out. But I don't think it's fair to put this all on Harbaugh, right? Like I know Ravens fans are like, "Oh, it's Harbaugh," and it's like, yeah, but how many times? Anytime Lamar Jackson, I thought this was going to be the year that he kind of worked it out. Now I don't know the extent of his back injury. I know it's day to day,
Right.
but it just seems like whenever he does get these injuries, he's usually, I'm not going to say packing it in, but he's not quick to not leave his team in that situation, right?
Sure.
Like sometimes it kind of seems like, he's going to do what he can do, and if he's pushed to his limits, and if he's at any chance putting himself in dangerous way, which is fine for players to do, it just seems like he's kind of like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to make sure. And I don't know if that's a Harbaugh related thing. I know, like, not to put anything into any credit into some of these Reddit theories where people are
Sure.
saying that they have heard that Lamar doesn't want Harbaugh there. But if he doesn't want to, if he doesn't believe in Harbaugh, he's not putting his body on the line for Harbaugh.
Right.
So I don't know if that's related to it or not. I'd really like to see like what it is. We'll find out these next couple of weeks if Lamar plays or if he's going to hang it up just based on the injury riddled season. He's obviously been playing through the injuries, right? But is he just at his wits' end? And then you also see guys like Isaiah Likely with the negative comments about the Ravens right now. You kind of
wonder,
wonder,
it's like we ass.
yeah,
By the
it's
way,
like,
I saw somebody make this point. I think it's a good one to make. Like he wasn't caught on like a hot mic. He was like looking around for people filming and made sure that it got out there.
made
That's
sure
how
that
he
they
feels.
were recording. Yeah.
He's certainly gone after this year. He's going to be a free agent. They extended Mark Andrews. He's going somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the vibes in the locker room are not good in Baltimore right now. Like we'll see how this thing works itself out. But I think if you're a Ravens fan, you're looking at some change. But I think you have to look at Zach Orr. Like, what is that Zach Orr issue been? Like, I understand Harbaugh is related to that, but they got some stuff to figure out in Baltimore. Like Marlon Humphrey, is he still a guy there? Like this could be a big offseason of change for them if they do not make the playoffs, which I think it's highly likely that they do not. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued to see who they do go after if they do move on from Harbaugh, which again, I think we both agree feels pretty likely at this point.
Right.
If they wanted to go with somebody who could fix the defense, that could bring in some sort of offensive mind for the offense, maybe Jeff Hafley in Green Bay and bring somebody from LaFleur's staff. There's, Brian Flores, Josh McCown pairing from Minnesota. There's a few different things that they could do. I don't know who Lamar would want to be the head coach. You'd have to look into that, I guess. Who's the rapper that he's super duper good friends with?
Kodak
yeah, he
Black.
want Kodak Black to be the head coach, running the ship. But yeah, if Green Bay wins on Saturday, obviously the Ravens season is over. But I'd be interested to see what the Steelers do in response to that. If they decide to rest some guys, we do have a couple super chats. We can touch on those real quick. Before we continue, Rex Fortune, I'm glad Judkins' injury is the best case scenario, potentially ready by OTAs. Yeah, dude, that sucked. Just a freak thing. Tackled by Matt Milano on like a swing pass and dislocated ankle and a broken fibula. Just sucks, man. He's having a really good year. But yeah, he had surgery today. Apparently the surgery went well. So hopefully he doesn't experience any sort of sophomore slump from the injury. Hopefully he's back to 100%. That would be good.
Yeah, he was a good player this year, man. I think he was one of the best running backs in the division for sure this year.
Yeah. Rex Fortune follows up. And funnier note, what are your opinions on Jake Paul gassing out, running from Joshua and getting cracked? Yeah, I did see some videos on this. I saw that what his face looked like.
You should have watched this one, Jared. This one was very entertaining. It was a lot of Jake Paul running around. Like that ring was extremely larger than normal dimensions for a reason.
Really?
We see why after this guy got his job broke in 2 places. If that ring was smaller, he wouldn't have. Yeah, Jake Paul wouldn't have lasted that long. But I think that was part of his strategy. You have to give him his respect for being able to jump into the ring with a guy like Anthony Joshua, who's not too far out of his prime as a boxer, right? And obviously a heavyweight that had a huge, body size advantage over him. Yeah, it got once he gassed out, it was over. I've never seen someone try to tackle someone that many times in a boxing match with Jake Paul trying to tackle Joshua as many times as he did. But credit to him for jumping in there. But bro, yeah, that X-ray looked crazy. He got knocked out in the 6th round, so a lot of people probably expected that to happen in the 2nd or 3rd round. So round 6 of 8. So shout out to him for jumping in the ring. But this is what real boxers look like, and this is what social media boxers look like when they jump in the ring with a real legit boxer.
Hopefully this kills any of the social media boxing bullshit that's happened so much over like the last decade. We need to move on from that. This is just not good.
Over now.
I hope so. I really do. Let's talk about your. Oh, we got another one.
No, my bad.
Okay. Let's talk about your Bengals. I told you going into the week, Bengals -4.5, the easiest bet I could make all weekend, and it turned out to be true. Chase Brown, monster game. Mike Gesicki gets a touchdown against his former team. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase have a great game. T. Higgins catches a touchdown. Your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I was worried about Quinn Ewers. He was not a factor in this game. He helped the Bengals win this game.
How many picks did he throw?
He threw 2. He threw 2 in this one. And I believe they also had a fumble, I think, from Greg Dulcich or something like that.
Yeah, Greg Dulcich. First team all handsome.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a situation where the Bengals did what they were supposed to do in this one, right? Like, the thing that sucks about it for me is, it's too little too late at this point. It is a meaningless win from a fan standpoint. I think from a team standpoint, they needed to lift the morale, right? They were shut out last week. They needed to have a situation where they bounce back offensively in a big way. We're nearly perfect in this game offensively. At some point, it felt like this team was going to score 60. Just seemed like they were just another Quinn Ewers interception away from putting up even more points. Jamar Chase goes out there and has a hell of a game, 9 receptions for 109 yards. Chase Brown went crazy, as you said. I think he had a stretch where he scored 3 touchdowns in 1 quarter. Like, it was pretty crazy, pretty insane stuff from that standpoint. But the big kudos has to go out to the defense, man. Like, I get that it's Quinn Ewers, but for a unit that was historically bad, that looked like one of the worst defenses of all time, since that bye week, they've really tightened up from that standpoint. Shout out to DJ Turner playing against Jalen Waddle, did his thing against him. Got some other guys that were some unsung heroes. Jalen Davis ended up getting a pick. Jordan Battle shaping out to kind of be possibly one of the futures of that defense. So at this point, you're kind of evaluating what the Bengals are and what they're doing and looking at guys like Myles Murphy to figure out, where they are at and what their trajectory is and what the Bengals can do to change this next season. Now, the offense, obviously, you want to keep majority of those guys there. You see how much the offense changes when T. Higgins is there. Yeah. His presence is just valuable. Him just being on the field changes things so drastically, the way that defenses can guard the Bengals and use their game plan against them defensively. He just changes so much there. Shout out to him. I was a little scared for T to play in this game, to be quite honest with you, but apparently he was cleared by an independent neurologist that I think in Pittsburgh, actually went to Pittsburgh. He's a specialist and had him looked at. And when he did that, he was able to get the clearance and came in, scored a touchdown, 10, I think, touchdowns on the season for T. Wow. So, cool, but it's a situation where it's like, yeah, bro, we're already mathematically out of it. This is going to help Zach Taylor keep his job. This is going to mess up our draft position. So,
yeah, I think I saw Rossini, James Palmer, a bunch of people say, yeah, it looks like Zach Taylor's probably going to be there. That sucks.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, every team that we're going to play the next couple of weeks is going to be tanking, while Cincinnati is trying to run it up on garbage time with wins that mean absolutely nothing. So, yeah, I'm going to have a great offseason talking more about Zach Taylor in this football team with Duke Tobin once again. So, yeah, unfortunately for me, this is still a loss because these guys are still going to possibly be running this Bengals team next season.
Yeah. All right, we can move on to Buffalo, Cleveland. I bet Bills minus 10.5, which was not easy money, it turns out. Felt like it was after the first half, but Buffalo did all they could to keep Cleveland in the game, came down to the wire. But Buffalo gets the win 23-20. Look, I hope Miles breaks the record. I sincerely mean that. He's a great player. Records are made to be broken. Hope he gets it. The absolute horse shittery, giving him half a sack for that wild Josh Allen play where he runs backwards and falls. Mason Graham gets to him first, and he, like, his pinky grazes maybe one of Josh's cleats. They're like, what the hell? Give him half a sack for it. Let's reel that in a little bit, huh? I think that was a little bit overdone. Didn't like that at all. If you're gonna break the record, break the record.
Right.
So Buffalo held him pretty in check throughout the day. James Cook had a tremendous day against the Browns' run defense. And the start of the game looked pretty good for Cleveland. Harold Fannin from Shador puts them on the board first on the first drive, 7-0. But Buffalo answers with the James Cook touchdown. Shador hurts his pinky. He has to leave the game on what was the second drive. Dylan Gabriel comes in to finish it. They kick a field goal. And then felt like Buffalo kind of took over throughout like the rest of the second quarter into the third. Cleveland made it interesting near the end, but Buffalo was able to run out the clock and get the win in large part because it was like 4th and 32 from their own 1 after a grounding penalty on Shador. And then Buffalo was able to run out the clock. So Bills get the win. They will play. Who do they play this coming week? Oh, they play the Eagles this coming week. Do the Bills? The Browns will face Pittsburgh at home, where they've won the last 3 matchups with the Steelers at home, and with this whole DK thing going on, I'm nervous. I really hope that Green Bay beats Baltimore at home, and these last 2 games are meaningless for the Steelers to get some guys rested, and not have to worry about winning.
If Huntley is out there for the Packers game, there's no way that they should win that game, bro.
I agree. But I said the same thing against Chicago, and
that's true. So did I. I was with you, brother.
This game is in Lambeau though for Baltimore, so I feel like Green Bay coming off the loss that they had to Chicago last Saturday, I think that'll probably play a factor into everything. They're going to be playing pissed off themselves, so hopefully they can rebound and do Steelers fans a solid so the Steelers don't have to worry about playing without DK against Cleveland. But yeah, for this game, it's just Myles Garrett sack watch at this point, man. But I did think Shador did some good stuff in the first quarter, especially on the first drive. Doesn't change my opinion that he's like probably not the future of that team. But at this point, especially when you're on a bad team that could go 3-14 again for the second straight year, very, realistically, they could do that. You're independent contractors at the end of the day. When you're on a 3-win team, you're trying to do as much good as you can for your next job. If there is a regime change, all right, they can decide that they don't want to keep you around. Hopefully another team will. And we're seeing guys on that roster with that mindset, but also these young guys, these rookies, Carson Schwessinger has had a tremendous year. Harold Fannin continues to have an incredible year. I think he has 5 touchdowns now on the season. They clearly have drafted well. It's just a matter of getting the right quarterback there, and potentially, moving on from Kevin Stefanski and finding the right head coach to lead them into the future.
Yeah, I think this Browns game and Bills game was definitely closer than expected. And, Shador just had some bad luck with deflections that ended up as interceptions in this one. But yeah, the Bills were just in cruise control in this one. They just felt like
it felt like they were playing with their food a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at the stats, man. Josh Allen had 130 yards passing. We rarely see that from Josh Allen. So I don't think it was more so the Cleveland defense. I just think that they saw that they had the Browns on their schedule. It's a 3-win team at this point. They figured they could just get out of there with a win, no injuries. And that's what they did in this one. They were able to get up out of this one pretty quickly. Didn't even score in the fourth quarter in this one, and was still able to win against this Browns team. And, right now it's evaluation mode. But honestly, I think Cleveland did this Shador thing wrong. I think that they should have played him earlier in the season because now you can't really evaluate it because you got guys that are in that independent contractor mode, like you said, but guys are laying down at this point in the season too as well. So now it's going to be hard to evaluate these games and figure out, is he your quarterback or not? Right now it's leaning towards he's not because you haven't really given him a good enough sample size of games while you guys were still competitive to even see that. I think Shador still, as a player, I know people are saying, "Oh, we're just gonna lay down for these next couple of games." I'm not so sure Shador is because it's a very similar situation that Andy Dalton was in the year before we got Joe Burrow, where he tried to win that Dolphins game so that we wouldn't be able to get his replacement. Like Shador is going to be trying to win these games to try to avoid the Francisco thing happening. But so I think they'll still be competitive from his standpoint. I just don't know where the rest of the team is at. And you know that Myles Garrett to be there too, but is that enough for them to make any kind of case for him? No. I don't think that you get any kind of case from this Shador thing. And that's why when I started the season, didn't make sense to me to play Joe Flacco. Like you should have started with either Shador or Dylan Gabriel. I think Flacco, you know what he is. You knew that he wasn't going to be the answer for you. You probably could have shipped him out a little bit earlier. But it is what it is. Hindsight is 2020. But I've always felt like that from the get-go. Like, throw these rookie quarterbacks out there, see what you got while you guys are competing. To say, like, yeah, we shouldn't throw them against the Ravens or why not? It's your quarterback.
I mean, how
the
Giants see. The Giants started Jackson Dart his first game against the Chargers after they had the first 4 games of the year where they looked like monsters, and they won the game. So you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you never know. So I just feel like they should have thrown it out there. But this is Cleveland with quarterback situations, and they just it's Cleveland with the quarterback situation. They're allergic to quarterback in terms of figuring out what to do with one. When they did get a solid one in Baker, they got him up out of there. So, they're in a kind of transition mode to see what they have. And honestly, they're back at the drawing board again next year. And it's it's probably the most dysfunctional quarterback room in the NFL because you got Shador Sanders, you also have Dylan Gabriel, and then you just got Deshaun Watson just lurking
hovering there. Yeah.
And it's like, so you're going to draft another, what are you going to do? Are you just going to have 4 guys in the same locker room where any one of these guys could be the guy? They have to go into this offseason with a clear plan at what they're going to do at quarterback. And they need to clear some of these cobwebs away to figure out who the guy is. And we'll see if they can do that. I mean, they haven't been able to do it for quite some time. The time that they did, it was Baker. Baker, I thought, got a raw deal there at the end. I understand where people were coming from with Baker. Like, is he good enough to technically be that guy? But I thought that the way that they did him, with him playing through the injury, no one's going to be good when they're playing through an injury, bro. And to get him out of there, make the Deshaun Watson mistake, which at the time, I'm going to be honest, I thought that they did upgrade at that point.
I think everybody did.
Before we heard about who Deshaun Watson was as a person, that part of it made it a little crazy. But, at the time, I thought, they upgraded at quarterback. They clearly did.
I mean, hell, bro. There was a time, in the midst of that, where we didn't know all the full details of the accusations and whatnot. I mean, I was happy. Hey, Steelers, go get him. If he's available, go get Deshaun Watson. And then obviously all the my bad.
Yep, you're good. You're back now.
Okay, but after all of the details came out of the accusations, then you're like, oh, okay, maybe stay away from that. That just doesn't. That's bad.
And I mean, in the Browns were so desperate for a quarterback that they put up with it. But you got to address the Deshaun Watson thing at some point. Either you're gonna have to eat the money, trade him, whatever you're gonna do. You got to make that happen. Whatever you're gonna do with Shador, make that happen. Is Dylan Gabriel your career future backup? Figure out what it is that you guys want to do. You obviously don't have to do it now. But you got to go into this offseason with a plan to do that. And I just felt like if they would have really played this quarterback thing differently from the beginning of the year, they have more answers, at least, to those questions now. But, still a good fight from them in this one. This wasn't one, like you said, where they did just lay down to the 10-point spread that they were expected to. They did try to fight in this one. But, again, going forward, how much fight is really left in this Browns team, especially for a guy like Kevin Stefanski that's only been able to win 3 games this season.
Yeah. We can look ahead a little bit to the Week 17 games. We'll start with Pittsburgh and Cleveland just because, divisional matchup, pretty important game. Without DK Metcalf, yeah, that does make me a little bit worried just because what's the passing game going to look like? Luckily for the Steelers, the Bills just showed, hey, you don't necessarily need to be able to throw the ball to win. You can run on this team. I expect them to run away from Myles Garrett, and I expect a heavy dose of both Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. I think it could be a similar attack to what it was the first time out against Cleveland. The first game that they played was a play action pass to Darnell Washington that got 50 yards and set them up for points. So it's the Browns, obviously, they're not a very good team. The Steelers have been playing very well as of late, but they also have lost the last 3 games that they've played in Cleveland. So it's not a gimme by any means. Browns do have a good defense. And if the Browns want to win, it's got to be similar to what Pittsburgh did against Detroit. It's, hey, get them in the mud because we like it in the mud. And Detroit, they out-lionsed the Lions. So I think that Cleveland's going to have to make this a rock fight. If the Steelers can have their way offensively, then I feel pretty confident about the outcome. But if they struggle because there isn't a pass game and they can't run the ball for whatever reason, then it could come down to the wire, and that's where I'll get a little bit nervous. But as long as they come away with a win, dude, I don't care. Clinch the division, make Week 18 meaningless, and get out of there, be able to rest your starters Week 18. Maybe we see a little bit of Will Howard in Week 18 like a lot of people want to. But Steelers should win. They're the better team. They're the hotter team right now. They should be able to win even without DK out there. And hopefully we can see, Adam Thielen continue to play well. They worked in Scotty Miller a lot against Detroit, and he played well. But as long as these other guys pick up the slack, maybe they go inside Alan Lazard. Who knows? There's a lot of different things that they can do. But I think they should win regardless of, DK not being there. And don't care how close it is. Just get the win, clinch the division, and have a nice, impromptu bye week where you can rest a lot of your guys in Week 18.
Yeah, I think this one is – this is a layup, bro. You're playing the Browns to get into the playoffs at this point. The win for the Browns is Myles Garrett getting the sack record against the Steelers. That's what they're looking for out of this game. I don't think that – now, obviously, like I said, Shadeur's going to try to have a performance here to try to do some things, to try to – boost his chances of being a starter going forward. But this is a situation where the Steelers are just going to win this game. I just don't see the Browns winning this game at this point. Mike Tomlin's not losing to the Browns Week 17 for the division at this standpoint. And even whether it's with DK, without DK, they obviously have something going in the run game. But the other thing is, I believe Denzel Ward was hurt. I don't know if he's back for this game, but, if Denzel Ward is there, then maybe you have an issue. But with no Denzel Ward, I'm not sure if these cornerbacks are the same.
Maybe this could be the week to finally hit on an Adam Thielen anytime touchdown bet.
Oh yeah, this is it right here, brother. This is the Adam Thielen week for sure. And Adam Thielen still got some stuff left in the tank, but we just saw what their running backs can do as well. And Kenneth Gainwell apparently can be a receiver too. So maybe he has another big game here, but I'm definitely taking the Steelers at this point. The Browns right now, they just are what they are. The Bengals are what they are. I'm not saying that because they're the Browns. I think teams just are what they are at Week 17. They're not going to have this miraculous turnaround kind of situation. I don't think it's a vanilla Vic, Bengals, Ryan Finley beats the Steelers somehow. I don't think that train is running right now in this game. So I definitely taking the Steelers on this one.
All right, your Bengals hosting the Cardinals. Oh, Jesus. What a game. I think Cincinnati wins this one pretty handedly. The Cardinals, talking about a team that feels like they're mailing it in. They lose to a Falcons team that isn't very good. They got Jacoby Brissett out there. They've got talented players. We know that Marvin Harrison, the potential that he has. But, when you got Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, there's a hard ceiling on what you can be. He looked okay early on when he replaced Kyler Murray, but we see a lot of backup quarterbacks who come in, look hot. Even when Mike White, when he came in for the Jets a few years ago, and the Jets played really well for about a 2-game stretch, and a bunch of people did the weird, I don't know, man, Mike White thing. I was like, no, dude, let's let this thing play out. So the Bengals are the better team. They're at home. they should win this game. I think Walter Nolan's done for the Cardinals. He got carted off the field, I believe. So Bengals are the better overall team with the higher offensive firepower at home. I think that they win, and I think that they cover.
Yeah, I mean, like I use this website called Team Rankings, and usually they do a 5-star in confidence. And usually, if you get I think for the last game, the Pittsburgh one was like 1 star for Pittsburgh in terms of confidence, and that's typical. Like they just feel like it can go either way. They got 3 stars for the Bengals on this one in terms of their confidence for the Bengals winning in this one. And I understand like where they're at. Like I just said about the Browns, they're a 3-win team. It is what it is. Can say the same about the Arizona Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr., really a head-scratching season from him. I was a Neighbors guy. Thought that Marvin Harrison Jr. would definitely play better, but it's been a disaster season for them. Doesn't seem like Kyle Murray's the guy there going forward. A lot of turmoil, a lot of question marks. This just doesn't seem like this Cardinals team from a few years ago that seemed to be on to something. Like that has completely gone away. So I think the Bengals are easily taking this one. They still got Joe Burrow, still got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They're going to score points in this one. They're going to save Zach Taylor's job again, unfortunately, and they're going to ring off another meaningless win. But I just can't see the Cardinals, winning this game. Do you think that is their head coach safe, or do you think that he's potentially fireable?
I feel like Jonathan Gannon's probably gone.
Yeah.
And look, in terms of what he could bring to a team as a defensive coordinator, I think there's certainly something there. And even though the Cardinals didn't end up being a playoff team with him, his first year there where everybody's like, yeah, this is a 2-win team. They played their asses off. Josh Dobbs started the year as their starter before they traded him to Minnesota. And then they turned – who the hell was the rookie that they started for a lot of that season? Because Kyler got hurt that year as well. Oh, that's going to piss me off. But they were playing a lot of not good players, and they still won, I think, like 4 games. And they were competitive in a lot of other ones that they just didn't end up winning. So I think for what he was given, he did a good job. It just kind of fell apart this season. He had that incident on the sideline where he punched a player in the stomach or whatever. Once you do that, it's crazy. Hard. It's hard to come back from that. So I think he'll go somewhere and be a solid defensive coordinator, and they'll try again at head coach. But I think that he's probably done there after this year.
Yeah, for sure. Was it? It wasn't Desmond Ridder, was it?
No, not Desmond Ridder. It was a white guy. What the hell was his name? That's really going to bother me.
Yeah, if anybody knows, definitely let us know.
Please let me know in the comments who 2022 the Cardinals quarterback for the majority of that year. Or maybe it was 2023. It's 23. Would have been 23.
Okay, yeah, because I was looking at 2024, so I'm like, but yeah, they're done there. Like Gannon's gonna be out of there. I didn't like the Gannon hiring from the get-go, so we'll see what happens with them. But yeah, this is a team like ready to pack it in, probably headed towards a rebuild themselves.
Yeah. Evan got it. Clayton Tune, that was the quarterback. Yes.
Tune. Gotcha.
Baltimore and Green Bay. We touched on it a little bit already. If it's Snoop Huntley under center, I feel like it's all but decided that the Ravens are kind of just waving it at this point and just saying, failed season, time to pack it in. And look, that's not to say that Lamar's giving up personally. We don't know how severe the back injury is.
Didn't practice today for him, and I think they're playing on Saturday, so not a good sign.
Not a good sign. Although for the last month, it's been like a story not practicing the first day of practice. Dude, he was hurt in the first portion of the year. How many weeks in a row are we going to keep making a big deal out of this? They're just not going to practice him on Wednesday. And, this week being Tuesday because they play on Saturday. So I'll if he doesn't practice tomorrow, then I will be a little bit all right, what the hell's going on here? Maybe he's not going to play. Even if he does play though, man, we talked about it already. He's been at 70%. At best since coming back. So
for sure.
Green Bay coming off a really rough loss. Shout out to Caleb Williams and the Bears, man. Holy hell.
That was crazy.
The most fun, the game was 16-9 at one point. That game felt like it was a 35-30 shootout somehow. That was such a fun final 5 minutes. Great job by the Bears, really cementing themselves as a team to be reckoned with, clinch a playoff spot. I think
Caleb has been pretty clutch this year too,
dude.
Bro.
Good for him. I'm very happy for him after all the stuff that reportedly went on behind the scenes in Chicago last year. Seems that him and Ben Johnson have a pretty good thing going on there. So good for him. Good for the Bears. In terms of Green Bay, I'm sure that they're pissed about blowing a 16-6 lead with, less than 5 minutes to play in a game that they should have won. And they're going to hopefully show up pretty pissed off and play well at home against a Ravens team whose defense has been susceptible to giving up big plays. And even if they are winning late, that the game's not over. So I think that Green Bay wins this. And if they do, again, the Steelers clinch the division. Maybe that changes how they approach week 17 because Baltimore plays on Saturday, Steelers play on Sunday. So if they wanted to just, hey, we'll play Aaron for a half just to at least keep his feet wet, not have him, cold going into the postseason, maybe they do something like that. But if this ends up just being, hey, DK Metcalf gets 2 weeks off to stay healthy for the playoffs, that's A-okay with me.
Yeah, I think this one, especially with the Packers coming off of 2 losses here, you don't want to be playing the Packers coming off of 2 losses, especially the last one that they just had there. I've got the Packers in this one easily. It's in Green Bay. You talk about potentially no Lamar, and if you do have Lamar, what Lamar do you even have? He has not been good. Hobble Lamar has just not been the same Lamar. Has been pretty bad statistically since he came back. Career lows. I don't even think he has any rushes. I think it's over 50 yards or something like that. This is for the first time in his career. So clear indication that is messing him up. And you talk about him having the back injury, offensive line that hasn't been blocking well, defense that hasn't been playing well.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're getting up for a game in the frozen tundra up there to be able to take on a team like the Packers, who clearly still wants to try to make it into the dance some type of way. So I got the Packers in that one for sure.
Yeah. Green Bay did clinch a playoff spot because of the Lions loss. I believe that they already clinched a spot.
Okay. So they're already in. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good,
Anybody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure the Bears, 49ers, and Packers all clinched a spot with the Lions losing. So I'm pretty sure Green Bay's already in. It just comes down to them battling for the highest seed possible. But regardless, I mean, that's a team that looks like it's going to be in the postseason if they haven't clinched already. If this is the end for Lamar in Baltimore, where could we see him go? Like if the Raiders called and were like, hey, we'll give you our next 3 first-round picks, a couple 2s, a few day 3 picks, and I don't know who's a player that they could throw in that would make that interesting.
The immediate team that jumped in my mind, and I know there's going to be a lot of comparisons and everything, Atlanta Falcons. Falcons, Mike Vick comparisons. Who were the teams that were interested in him when he became I felt like the 49ers and somebody else was like rumored to have interest, but obviously 49ers can't do that now because they got Purdy.
Yeah, the money stuff with Purdy would make that difficult, but I wonder if there could be a world, because both these guys are making a lot of money, if the 49ers and Purdy doesn't play well in a postseason loss where that's just like the final straw and they try to get a deal done that sends Purdy there as part of like a big trade and sends Lamar to San Francisco. That would be kind of interesting.
Right. I think you could also see him Miami.
Oh, Miami makes sense. Yeah, Miami makes a lot of sense, actually.
Miami makes a ton of sense. Where else would he be able to? Those are the teams that I think would be all in for him. Can't think of anyone else. Right. Okay, here's one. Here's a curveball. Lamar Jackson for Jalen Hurts.
Oh. Huh. That's actually, here's the thing. If the Ravens were to call the Eagles and just propose, I don't know if the Ravens would propose that, but in this world say that they do. Huh. If I'm Howie Roseman, general manager of the Eagles, I'd probably do that.
Yeah. I think that they would, and then I think you'd have to get. So, like, is it Jalen Hurts and a pick? Is it Jalen Hurts and like
that would be a weird? Lamar's better than Jalen Hurts, so you'd have to send something along with Jalen. Maybe it's Jalen Hurts and a 2, and some sort of day 3 pick swaps for Lamar Jackson, and some sort of 5th round pick.
I think Philadelphia would call.
That's interesting.
I think Philadelphia will call and say like, hey, we have Jalen Hurts. He's obviously a solid quarterback. He's obviously won a Super Bowl. He's still young. Similar contracts. If they were to move on, now if I'm in the Baltimore situation, it would have to be like somebody that has ties to Hurts that believes in him and stuff like that.
Right.
But I think if you were to move on from Lamar and the Jalen Hurts contract is cheaper, that's possibly an option where you avoid completely having a reset there. And I think that they could possibly offer them the best return in terms of like a viable quarterback. Like so would you take Purdy or Jalen Hurts?
I would take Jalen Hurts.
I would take Jalen Hurts too. So like he already kind of fits what they did and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see. But I think that would be an intriguing trade.
That is very interesting. I don't know if it would happen just because I don't know what Hurts. I think Hurts and Lamar's contract are really similar because one or the other. Like I think Lamar got his contract, and then shortly after Jalen Hurts got his for like $10 more or whatever the hell they do. Just like, the highest paid quarterback.
I want to say Jalen Hurts is more team friendly.
Okay.
Than Lamar's would be at this. And then Lamar has to sign a new deal, right? So that could completely reset. Somebody said the Raiders. The Raiders, I just don't know what they'd have to offer other than the picks. But yeah, I don't know if Lamar would want to go to Las Vegas if he had his choice. So
because he does have a no trade clause. So if they were to try to move him, he would have to approve it.
Yep. I think he would approve going to the Eagles for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yes. And I think AJ Brown would approve that too, considering all the rumored tension between he and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty intriguing one.
Huh. That becomes very interesting because if you're the Eagles, like you don't want to get rid of AJ Brown. Right. But if you can keep AJ Brown and get Lamar Jackson, I don't know, man. And
they have the pieces to do it. Like whether they got to put another player in there or something like that. Like they have the pieces to do it. And I could see them intriguing Baltimore with like Jalen Hurts and one of those young defensive players over there in Philadelphia. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it being a situation. Now that in order for this to happen, though, I think Lamar has to request out. I think Lamar has to say, like, I'm done. I'm ready to move on here. Like, whether you guys.
Well, he did that. He did that the first time around, though, didn't he?
He kind of did. Yeah. Yeah. You don't love Lamar.
So I think, dude, that's going to be this scenario that probably won't happen will intrigue me for the next 3 months.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I think if you float it out there, I think even like if someone from the Eagles side like happened to see an article or something on it, or a tweet, they'd be like, would they take this trade or something like that?
What if there's a scenario where like Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith go to Baltimore for Lamar and Zay Flowers as part of like the main pieces.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
And
in this weird world of, hey, it might not happen, but like it's possible. Let's dip our toe in the water of maybe it could. I like that. That's a very fun what if. In that situation. I think the most fun what if, because like, if you're the Raiders, of course you're going to be like, hey, we'll give you we'll give you ownership stake in the team if you give them to us, like whatever you want. But yeah, a team like the Eagles who won a Super Bowl with Hurts don't think that they can do it again and say, we got to move on.
And I could see them do it because like
they have done it. They fired Doug Peterson after he won a Super Bowl. They got rid of Carson Wentz after they paid him a ton of money. If there was a team to do it, it would be them.
Andy Reid went to like 3 straight NFC championships. They got him out of there. Like they are the type of team that is always looking to upgrade. I mean, I think I even remember what made me kind of think of it was when they had Donovan McNabb and signed Mike Vick anyway, and then
and then they traded Donovan McNabb to the Redskins, who are in the division. Yep. Yeah, they don't care.
Yep, they don't care. They would. I think they would definitely consider it for sure.
That's fascinating. And again, let me make it very clear: if I had to guess whether that would happen or not, I would say no. I think Lamar's going to stay in Baltimore if I had to pick right now, and that Harbaugh will be gone. But if there is a world where Lamar wants out, And Howie Roseman is sitting there saying, huh, yeah.
They're going to, anytime someone wants out that is a superstar, Harry Roseman is calling. He called about Trey Hendrickson. And they already have a bunch of edge rushers over there. So he's going to, whenever good players are available, the Eagles are always going to at least make a phone call.
That's a very fun thing. We're clipping this and I'm putting it into the ether. And if it happens, stranger things have happened in the NFL is all I'll say. So we'll see. Good stuff. I don't think we missed a preview or anything, did we? I think we talked about every team, every game.
I think we talked about.
Sorry, Ravens fans are probably really pissed off at us right now. We're not. There's not a lot of representation here for them, so I do apologize. We appreciate you guys for watching, especially ahead of Christmas. But yeah, let me make it clear. I don't think Lamar's going to get traded to the Eagles, but I don't think that's a 0% chance that he doesn't get traded to the Eagles. So,
for sure.
It's just, very, hypothetical conversation. Again, sorry if you're a Ravens fan, but like at the same time, not really. This is, we'll see how they perform on Saturday. And that'll really dictate a lot of what happens in the next 2 weeks with Pittsburgh. So like I said, I'm hoping that the next 2 weeks are, the division's wrapped up for the Steelers. The DK Metcalf suspension is just an impromptu vacation and rest up for him. That would be pretty great. But we'll see. If Lamar plays, they're always a threat to win. It just, can they finish if they're ahead late, and can Green Bay bounce back after 2 bad losses? So that'll be intriguing to see. And then we'll see if Myles Garrett can break the sack record, and if the Browns can parlay that into a 4th straight win over Pittsburgh in Cleveland. So a lot at stake this weekend in the AFC North. If you guys are watching, you're not already subscribed, please do that. Helps out the channel. Appreciate everybody for tuning in and commenting, being a part of the chat, super chatting, all that fun stuff. Ace, Merry Christmas, buddy.
Likewise, brother.
Appreciate you and love you and love doing this with y'all every week. We will be back later on in the week. No, we won't. No, we will not. We'll be back next week.
Probably, yeah. It'll be next week, just to recap everything next Tuesday. So no show Friday, guys. We went ahead and got the preview out of the way. Definitely Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to Sonny and Q out there.
Yes.
But especially you guys, the viewers. So appreciate you guys for tapping in.
Yeah, very much so. So we'll be back next week to recap week 17. Appreciate everybody for tuning in again. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Spend it with you and yours. And we'll be back next week to recap everything. So until then, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's AFC North Talk. We'll see you soon.